Um, what do you feel is the most difficult trumpet technique to perfect, and what methods did you use to improve it?
So trumpet technique, it's a very limiting term, trumpet technique. I mean, I guess the most difficult trumpet techniques are articulation based. So whether they be using the tongue or slur or scoops or bends or slides or different articulations, those are the most difficult trumpet techniques to sort of get a hold of. But there's no doubt about it that the most difficult musical technique that trumpet players need is improvisation. It's a lifelong study. You got to get into that immediately if you're thinking of doing it. Now, if you're going to be a rock and pop player who takes rock and pop solos, or a jazz musician who's going to take jazz solos, then improvisation is your most important thing to get involved in now.
Is there any sort of breathing techniques as well, maybe?
Circular breathing and things like that. There's a lot of gimmicky things trumpet players use that are of absolutely no value to man or beast, apart from being able to show off on stage. In my opinion, anyway. I think breathing techniques are just obviously making sure you use your diaphragm. If you're studying with Desley Graham and Carrick Fergus, Silver Band, it's probably one of the first things he's going to check if you do, in terms of how you fill the bag, in terms of how you breathe and open your mouth long, bypass the broccoli, as we call it, which goes into the lungs, and get straight down that alimentary canal into the diaphragm and fill the bag and control your release of the air of that bag so that bag carries the weight of the note until the end. I use a non-pressure method of playing, so I'm not even aware of when I breathe. I'm sure it's every 20 or 30 seconds. I don't get tired. I gig on a Saturday and Sunday, usually about 8.5 hours each day, and I don't really get a tired lip because I use a non-pressure method in terms of where my mouthpiece is in relation to my lip. And the breathing supports that, and the diaphragmatic breathing supports that. That's the main thing. Learn how to use your diaphragm. I can't think of any other breathing techniques apart from wrong ones. So if there are other breathing techniques, I'd be very suspicious of them. Make sure you use your diaphragm correctly.
Moving on to general public's views on trumpeting, do you feel there are many misconceptions about trumpet capabilities? For instance, the trumpet not being able to play in the metal genre of music. If so, why do you think people think this way?
I have no idea. I mean, you put my album on and you'll realise that trumpet plays in the metal genre of music. Trumpet actually works with James Taylor. James Taylor is the most loving songwriter of all time. There's trumpet in James Taylor songs. There's trumpet in pop songs, in pop ballads. It's a very, very mellow, and as I say, we talked earlier on about the method of tonguing. A lot of people associate trumpets with brass bands. A lot of people associate trumpets with orchestras and people having to play very accurately, high and loud and forcefully. And all these big trumpet cadenzas and trumpet fanfares that you get in churches and things like that. I suppose that's where the misconception comes from. But there's a thing called visibility, and there are players who are visible. I've been able to find them. Till Brunner, Matthias Eick, they're key ones who play in a very, very soft way. Their sound is very, very soft. It embellishes everything that they do around them. And I honestly don't think it's a trumpet thing. I think it's a musician thing. I think there's I think the biggest misconception is whenever people call people trumpet players, because I know trumpet players who are trumpet players. They're very good trumpet players, but they're not very good musicians. They don't work well in different settings. They can't use their ear. They don't play appropriately. They overplay, they overblow, they force things. And being a musician is a much more important thing than being a trumpet player. So I would say there's guitar players that I know that aren't appropriate for heavy metal music, because they haven't got those chops down, and the heavy metal players I know that aren't appropriate for jazz guitar, aren't appropriate for country and western, because they haven't got the chops down for that kind of thing. They haven't got the approach of the relationship between swing quaver and straight quaver, dotted quaver and semi-quaver, and the kind of things players who create a nuance in the style will know about. And I would say that there's nothing less appropriate about a trumpet than about a guitar or a keyboard or a flute or a saxophone. Definitely not.
This is the last question
Okay.
here. So what musical ideas and techniques do you think have created and formed your own unique style now at this point?
The big one for me is at a very early stage I equated, because improvisation is what I do all the time, whether it's rock, pop, funk, soul, jazz, Dixieland, trad, mainstream, modern, contemporary. I'm normally booked because people consider me to be a specialist in improvisation. They pull me into studios, they have no brass parts done, they want me to write my own, I don't really take a solo. So I realised early on I had a flair for it, and I could capitalise and make my business around that, whether it be through education or through performance or through talking about it on the radio. And the big thing that I would say was, at an early age, at 24, 25, I embraced the concept of improvisation in terms of paragraph construction. I thought if jazz is a language, or if improvisation is a language, and it uses vocabulary and grammar, then is English not a language? It uses vocabulary and grammar. So I looked at a paragraph, and I thought of a paragraph, and I thought of let's say 5 paragraphs make a chapter. The melody is the first paragraph. Maybe I take the second paragraph, the sax player takes the third paragraph, and eventually we're back into the melody in the 5th paragraph. So I tried to equate a paragraph to an improvised solo, and I thought, well, the melody is just finished, so people are going to listen to that melody, so you'll not want to start your solo straight away. So you have your indentation. If your capital letter, which is your first note, you have your first word, which is the syllable. So if you give me the start of any sentence.
Hello, my name is.
Hello, my name is. So hello, my name is, I would say, would be semi-quaver to dotted quaver, and then quaver rest. My name is would probably be, my name is would probably be crotchet to 2 quavers, or quavers to semi-quavers. You can write down, you can equate the syllables that we speak with words to the notation that we can use whenever we're playing or reading rhythm notation. Quavers, crotchets, triplets, semi-quavers, minims, and the rests that we have. So if I'm talking non-stop, I'm not using rest, and I'm changing subject every time we say it's a lovely Sony camera, but my carrots aren't cut yet, and I think I need to walk the dog, but the TV's supposed to be really good tonight, so what's on the radio then? I wouldn't do that. And the rules are, if you don't say it, don't play it. So if you wouldn't change subject 5 times in a sentence, don't do that whenever you're playing. If you wouldn't play a 45-word sentence without commas, then play the rests, use rests whenever you're playing. Set up those subjunctive clauses, have them all of different lengths. Maybe have 5 sentences with full stops in your 32-bar solo. Maybe have one of them just one word, help, exclamation mark, which is an attack or a fall, and then a rest, and then your next sentence, help. I've just realised, comma, Godzilla is running through the mountain, full stop, a comma, and it's gone into my garage to get my golf clubs, full stop, or whatever it happens to be. So you're thinking about how those would be phrased, bow, ba-do-ga-dig-a-do-dap, full stop, capital letter, full stop again, exclamation mark, question mark, which is a quotation from another tune, end of quotation marks. You have all these different things that actually equate within a paragraph. So if you think whenever you play, I would say to you now, you put your trumpet down that desk and you embrace the concepts related to paragraph construction and playing. You embrace the fact that you want to have a message that happens 30% through, is carried 30-80%. You embrace the fact that you want to end your solo in a low or middle or a sustained kind of fashion so that you can hand over to somebody else without forcing them to play your way. You embrace the fact you're probably going to leave your message to 30% through, so you're going to start your sort of fairly simple or fairly repetitive patterns. You embrace the fact that if you play a gorgeous little motif, you might want to employ that 3 or 4 times. You might want to move it through different keys. You might want to extend it. You might want to shorten it. You might want to augment it, whatever it happens to be. You might want to repeat it. You might want to develop it. You know what I mean? So you've got all these different ideas that you can do that equate to language whenever you're soloing. So if you embrace that, and if you don't play fast, you play semi-quavers. You don't play slow, you play crotchets and minims. You break up your syllables. You don't want to be doing, I would never say, I have a dog, my dog is black, I like my dog, it barks, it eats, it. I would never say that. I would say, my dog, which is black, and I've had for 25 years, whatever it is, the oldest dog in the world now. I realised, you'd phrase your words in a sentence that people understand. And whenever you're playing, you need to do that. So I got a hold of that fairly early, and I think it's probably the most important thing that's ever happened to me, because I still think like that, and I still play lines, and people say, you're playing lines. I say, yes I am, I'm playing sentences, I'm playing musical sentences. Or you're playing stuff that's so appropriate. When I'm playing stuff that's appropriate because I'm listening to the chapter, and I'm playing a paragraph within that chapter. I'm not trying to force my personality or my incredible musical ability onto a songwriter who's written this song. I love my wife. She's my trouble and strife. If I'm playing a solo over that, I'm probably going to be doing da-do-do-do-da-do, da-do, da-da-da. I could play. But it's not appropriate. So I don't. So you think about it as a chapter, you think about your part as a paragraph, I think about how it falls on the subdivision of the beat. The other thing I embraced, which I've used and I've expanded into all kinds of different things, which is a very important thing, is I can't remember what age I was whenever I realised that you could buy a book of transcriptions. In other words, somebody had bothered to actually sit down and transcribe somebody's solo and put it in the book so you could look and see what they did. And it was a penny drop situation. It was just a gobsmacking situation whenever I read it, and I thought, I wonder why they, or how they made all the notes he played fit as quavers and triplets and semi-quavers. So I'm going to ask you that question, just in case you don't know. Why would somebody bother to make somebody who plays, closing their eyes and plays, why would they write it in the form of, why would they make it fit like the quavers and semi-quavers and triplets and things like that? Have you any idea?
It's to change rhythm, I would have guessed. But
no, I'm going to tell you, you're going to kick yourself whenever I tell you.
Oh dear.
because that's what the player played. He played semi-quavers and quaver triplets and things like that. There's no magic about it. There's no, I'm going to make that sound like a triplet, so I'm going to write it. He sounds like a triplet, I'm going to write it. He played a triplet. We play subdivisions of the beat. We don't play fast, we play semi-quavers, I've said it before, or semi-quaver triplets. We don't play slow, we play minims or dotted crotchets or whatever happens to be. We play subdivisions of the beat. Transcribers just write down what we play. So once you start thinking like that, you can't be out of time. Because if you're playing a solo, even if all the notes sound like the Antichrist has been flagged down by a traffic cop or something like that, you know what I mean? And the noise is awful and there's blood everywhere, you know what I mean? Even if you're playing Carnage harmonically with wrong note choices, if you embrace the concept that everything you play is on a subdivision of the beat, you should never be out of time, even if it's a wrong note. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba-do-do-da, ba-ba-do-ba-do-ba-do-da, da-ba-do-do-da, ba-do, ba-da, ba-da-ba-do-da, ba-ba-do-ba-do-ba-do-da. Now, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Crotchet, 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 crotchet. Offbeat crotchet, of course. Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Or straight. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba boop, ba boo da ba ba da boo da boo da do da ba da boo da boo da boo da ba da ba da ba da ba da do da ba da ba da ba 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 da ba do da ba da ba da ba 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 do da. Subdivision of the beat. Subdivision of the beat. Now, subdivision of the beat in a paragraph with an indentation and commas. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Boo ba da. Ba ba do ba do ba do dip. Ba ba bo ba do ba do da. Ba ba do ba do ba do da. Ba da ba da ba do 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 da. Ba ba do ba do da. Ba do ba 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 da. Solo.
That's great. Thank you. Is there just as a final thing? Is there anything you'd like to play on the trumpet, or anything you'd like to share? Please.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to play?
I'm easy, so anything.
Okay.
Anything
I
you'd
think
like.
of something that's not jazz, but I'm using a jazz influence to play, so I'm using your horn and mouthpiece, obviously. So I think of something like maybe a James Taylor kind of thing or something like that. Let's just see. Yeah.